Welcome back to another Numberskull video. Anyways, if I sound a little off, guys, it's because I'm a little sick. I couldn't bring myself to take a little chill day, so I decided to make a little tier list video for you guys. As you guys can see on the screen, we have every single fruit in the game here, and we're gonna rank them on a tier list. We have the highest tier, which is God tier, and then we have the worst tier, which is trash tier. I'm gonna rank every single fruit in Blox fruits to see how good they really are. As of right now, I don't think I have a barrier fruit in my inventory, but that is the first fruit we're gonna go ahead and rank. So the barrier fruit is actually not that bad, but it's not that good either. I'm gonna say it's like a pretty bad tier because it's not a good fruit. The fruit is worth 800,000, I believe, so I think it's pretty bad, but it does have some trade value, so that's why it's not on a completely trash tier. The next fruit we have is Blizzard, which I am currently using, and it has some pretty solid abilities and some good damage, so you guys can deal a lot of damage with this, and it's pretty solid. If you use the V ability, you can deal some serious damage. Look, I can just deal a bunch of damage around me. Yeah, that guy's gonna die pretty easily here. If I just fly around him, he's dead. So with that being said, this fruit is pretty decent with damage, and it is a pretty valuable fruit, which means I'm gonna go ahead and move this Blizzard fruit to the pretty good tier, actually. It's pretty solid. It has good trade value, and it is a pretty decent fruit. It's not pretty bad at all. The next fruit we have is the bomb fruit, and it does look pretty cool when you use this fruit. You guys can like charge up your abilities. You have landmines you can put down around you, so it looks pretty cool. But there's a big problem with this fruit. It's very easy to get, very common, and it doesn't have good value, which unfortunately means I'm gonna have to go ahead and throw it in the trash tier. The next fruit on the list is actually Buddha, and it's pretty good for everything. So as you can see, this fruit makes you pretty big, and it kind of actually reminds me of Rectway's mom. I think you guys could guess why. Rectway's not here, so I could roast them all I want. But back to the tier list. So Buddha is actually a really good fruit. It has really good trade value, and it has some pretty good damage all around, really good for farming and everything. So I'm gonna have to put it at an all-around God tier fruit. The next fruit we have is the chop fruit. So I guess it's all right. It's pretty low value. You can have some cool abilities like dodging, and it's not really that hard to get. It's pretty common to get. I will have to say, it's gonna go in that tier you guys think it's gonna go. Time to put it in Rectway's mom's tier. It's going in the trash tier, unfortunately. It doesn't have much trade value. It's not really good for grinding. It's just a mediocre fruit all around. The next fruit we have is the control fruit, and I honestly like this fruit a lot. It has pretty cool animations, and I think it's just a pretty cool fruit all around. It also has some crazy value. So let's go ahead and test it on this guy real quick. I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys one of the little animations, as if you guys don't already know already. But look at how cool this looks. It's so sick. And if I have another animation here, you can just go ahead and do all this. It has a whole animation that does all of this. And look at all that damage too. It does some really good damage, I'm not gonna lie. Because the control fruit is a pretty solid fruit, has good damage, and has some pretty good trading value, it's gonna go to the pretty good tier. This fruit we have is called the dark fruit, and it is pretty solid. You do have to awaken it to get the full potential of this fruit, but it is still not bad. It also has some pretty cool animations as well, just like the control fruit, where you can kind of slash things and it changes your whole screen. Look at that. And you have abyssal darkness here, which kind of sucks in players. You have an endless hole that traps players, so it is pretty good for comboing, especially if you're a sword user. Because this fruit is also not that expensive, it doesn't make it a pretty good fruit. I think it's kind of mid because you do have to spend a lot of frags just to awaken it and all this other stuff to make it really good. So it's not amazing, but it's not bad. I'm gonna have to put it right in the middle. And this fruit right here reminds me of Sugarway, just because of how rich it makes you feel. Of course, it's the diamond fruit. The diamond fruit is honestly kind of mid. It just has some mediocre abilities. It has a little bit of value, but honestly, it's just not worth it in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, just because it does have some sort of value, I will have to put it under the pretty bad tier list. It's not gonna go trash just because it has some value, like I said. So the next fruit we have is the dragon fruit, and I'm pretty sure you guys know why this fruit is pretty good, right? It's because you could turn into a furry. This fruit reminds me of X-Demon. Can you guys wonder why it reminds me of him? Can you guys take a guess, maybe? But all around, the dragon fruit is pretty cool. Like, look at, you're a dragon. You can fly around, and the damage is really solid, and the trading value is insane for this fruit. So I could just go ahead and fire shower and nuke these guys down here, and oh my gosh, this is crazy. It just blinds everything. So as you guys probably already guessed, I'm gonna have to go ahead and drop this into the God tier list. And surprise, the next fruit we have is the Kilo fruit. Do I really have to go over this fruit? I'm pretty sure nobody needs to know anything more about this fruit. This poor Kilo fruit gets the treatment and goes straight to the trash tier. The next fruit we have is the Falcon fruit, and everybody gets this fruit pretty much. It's just a dog water fruit all around, but it does have a little bit of trade value, so I'm gonna have to put it in the tier you guys think is right. As much as I want to put this in the trash tier, I'm gonna just put it in pretty bad just because it has a little bit of value. Just that little value keeps it in the pretty bad tier. Otherwise, it would be straight to the trash tier. The next fruit we have is the flame fruit. And you guys know you guys can awaken this fruit, so it will be better than the previous version. But the problem is, you kind of do have to awaken it to get the best out of this fruit. It does have some decent trade value, and the damage is pretty solid. Like, look at this. You get giant flaming balls. So that's pretty cool too. You get some pretty good damage with blue balls, and 16,000 damage is pretty crazy. And you get some burn damage with it. And yeah, 18,000 damage is pretty solid. So this fruit does good amount of damage, but you do have to awaken it, and you also have some decent trade value. Even though you do have to awaken it, I want to say it's kind of mid, but I think it's pretty good, honestly. You do have to do the awakenings like I've mentioned 100 times, so if you're fine with that, I would put it as pretty good. The next fruit we have is the gravity fruit, and I honestly am not sure how I feel about this fruit. It is a pretty expensive fruit, but you do have some pretty crazy combo potential. You could hold somebody there and absolutely destroy them, and they can't move. So, as you can see, I just comboed that guy and he died. But the problem is, it's really hard to hit a moving target. These are NPCs, remember? And there's a reason why you don't see many gravity users playing Blox fruits. I will have to put this fruit as a mid fruit just because it has really good trade value, but it's not really that good of a fruit. So, otherwise it would have been pretty bad, but because it has decent value, it's gonna be a mid fruit. The next fruit we have is the ice fruit. So, the ice fruit is actually really solid. It has crazy combo potential, and you could just chain lock stun someone. So if you have this guy here, he is not going anywhere. If you go ahead and use your Z ability, he's still stunned. Go ahead and use your C ability, he's stunned. X does crazy amount of damage, and he's pretty much one shot over here. If I just go ahead and do this, he's just gonna die. And the ice fruit isn't super rare, but once it's awakened, the potential is crazy. So because ice fruit has really good PvP, I'm gonna have to put it as a pretty good fruit. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's pretty solid. The next fruit is the light fruit, and the light fruit is honestly not that crazy. I have it awakened, and you need it to be awakened to be the best it can possibly be, but even at its best, it just kind of underperforms. It's a little underwhelming, I'm not gonna lie, and the trade value isn't too crazy for it. All around, I'm gonna have to put the light fruit as a mid fruit. Next up, I have a fruit that me and Rectway appreciate so dearly. So you guys know what tier this is gonna go in, if you know what I'm saying. Wink wink. Rectway's not even here and I'm being sus, bro. This is bad. So for the meme, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put the love fruit as God tier, just for the meme. So now the magma fruit. Because magmaing on people is super fun, and this fruit has the highest damage in the entire Blox fruit verse, I think it's really solid. I honestly enjoy this fruit a lot more than any other fruit because the damage is just too much. It's actually crazy. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and have to bring the magma fruit all the way up to God tier. It has the highest damage per second out of every single fruit in the game. So now we have the paw fruit, and I'm not gonna lie, I am not a fan of the paw fruit. It really is under damaged. It's not really that cool. It's just not that good, honestly. It's worth way too much. It's not worth what it's worth, actually. Like, look at the damage. That's so underwhelming, guys. I would honestly put this at pretty bad, but just because, like I said, it has some sort of value, a trade value, I'm gonna put it as mid. Next up we have is Phoenix, and as you guys know, you could turn into a furry with this fruit, so I think it's pretty solid. Look at that. I am a furry now. This reminds me of Demon, but bro, like why? Why does it look so cursed? Like, what is this, bruh? The abilities look pretty cool. You guys can do pretty much a lot of damage with this fruit. I think it's really solid. It's not bad at all. And because this has some pretty decent trade value, I think you guys know where this is gonna go. Let's just go ahead and take the Phoenix fruit and put it in the pretty good list. Next up we have is Portal, which is pretty solid as well. It has really good trade value, and it does have some attack abilities and combo potential, so it's pretty solid. We could go ahead and do some cool things like this, and it's extremely mobile, as you guys know. You can teleport to anywhere else around the map, and you could be invisible for a little bit too, so that's pretty cool. So because Portal is worth so much, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put it in the pretty good tier list. Next up, we have one of the ultimate furry fruits, like always. This is the leopard fruit, and this is the most desirable fruit in all of Blox fruits. So you guys already know where this fruit is going. Do I need to say more? This is going straight into the God tier list. Right now, I actually don't have any Quake fruits on me, but the Quake fruit is up next. The Quake fruit is pretty solid. It has some pretty good damage and combo potential. And it also has good trading value. So let's go ahead and take a look at where that's going to go. I am going to go ahead and move the Quake fruit all the way to the pretty good list. I think it's pretty solid. Do I really have to talk about this revive fruit? As if everybody doesn't know about this fruit already, it is really bad. It is like terrible. So even though it has okay trading value, I'm still gonna put it at trash. It doesn't have any offense nearly. It's really bad. So the next fruit we have is really sus, bro. It's the rubber fruit, and why is it moving like that, bro? That is nasty. Why did they make it do that? But the fruit has some pretty decent trade value, and it's actually not entirely bad. I just wish they made this fruit a lot better because it's the main character's fruit, you know? Because it does have some decent trading value, but not amazing PvP, it's kind of left in the middle. So unfortunately, I am gonna have to put it as a mid fruit. It has good trade value, but that's really all it has going for it. The next fruit we have is the rumble fruit, and this fruit is actually pretty solid. It has really good trade value, the damage is pretty good, the combo potential is pretty good, and you could also get this pretty cool pull. That's from the Rumble Awakenings as well. But the biggest part about this fruit is you could get some pretty gigantic balls. Yeah, that's a giant ball above me. So let's go ahead and drop our giant ball on him, and yeah, the damage is pretty solid. And if we want to go ahead and finish him off with the pull, we can easily do that. Without a question, this has to be going into the pretty good category. The next fruit we have is the sand fruit, and unfortunately, it's not that good until it's awakened, so that's a big drawback. And another big drawback is that it has zero trade value. It is not worth anything because nobody wants to trade for a sand fruit. But the awakened abilities aren't too bad. Like, look at this. They look pretty good, and the V ability looks really good. Like, look at this. That looks crazy, but the damage isn't too high either. So unfortunately, I am gonna have to put the sand fruit as a mid to pretty bad fruit. Just because it doesn't have decent trade value, it's gonna go under pretty bad. The next fruit we have is called shadow fruit, and it's honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. It can do some damage, I guess. It's not that amazing. The damage is all right. It's a pretty expensive fruit though, and it does have really good trade value. The combo potential is there, but it's a little bit harder to land, but you do become a big ball, which is pretty cool. Although not a lot of people use it, I feel like it's a little underrated, and I believe we're gonna have to go ahead and go to the tier list to see where this belongs. So we have Shadow here, and I feel like it's in between mid and pretty good. I think it's a little underrated, but the trade value is really high, so I'm gonna have to put it as pretty good. Next up we have is the smoke fruit, and this has like virtually no trade value. It's a beginner fruit. It's not really that good, I'm not gonna lie. There's nothing really much to say else about it besides, unfortunately, it belongs in the trash fruit. Personally, I wish this fruit got a little more justice because in the anime, I think it looks way cooler. Next up, we have is the spirit fruit, and the spirit fruit is actually really high in damage, has insane trade value, and everybody kind of wants this fruit just to have it. So I think this fruit is really good. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Yeah, that guy's getting absolutely destroyed so fast. 18k damage in nearly like a second. That was extreme. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and take this and drop it in the god tier list because that's where it 100% belongs. Do I really have to talk about the spike fruit now? I think we all know where this belongs. My cursed dual katanas deal more damage than this. I hate to say it, but spike fruit, you're going straight to the trash tier. And you know what? Since we're here, let's go ahead and take the spin fruit, throw it in the trash tier, and the spring fruit. Do I really have to go over these three? I think we all know where they belong. Oh man, the dough fruit. What can I say about this fruit? It reminds me of those good old times I had with Rectway's mom. Whoa, besides that though, it has really good combo potential, and it's very desirable, and the trade value is extremely high. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this dough fruit all the way into god tier, because that's where it belongs. It belongs in the god tier list, for sure. Next up we have is the string fruit, and you do have to do awakenings on the dough fruit and the string fruit, but like I said, these are all pretty desirable. The string fruit is not one of my personal favorites, and it does have some good trade value though. I'm gonna have to say it belongs over here. The string fruit definitely belongs in the pretty good list. The next fruit we have is also another furry fruit. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the power of this furry. This is the furry fruit that everybody is terrified of, bro. Look at this. I look like some sort of nightmare creature, bro. But with that being said, this fruit is pretty funny looking, so it deserves a pretty good spot. Without a doubt, this venom fruit belongs in the pretty good list. I don't think it's a god tier, but I have to say, the god tier list is looking pretty solid. The love fruit is there for the memes, if you know what I'm saying. But what do you guys think about this tier list? Do you guys disagree or somewhat agree? Let me know in the comments down below. Where else would you have moved some of the fruits?